It is a Tuesday morning in a quiet street in Adelaide, and a retired school teacher named Margaret is standing in her kitchen watching water spread across the floor from under the sink. She is 68 years old, she lives on a fixed income, and she has just been told by the third tradesman she has rung that the earliest anyone can come is weeks away. The one before that quoted her a call-out fee of more than $150 just to walk through the door and look. Margaret is not poor and she is not unreasonable. She simply wants a pipe fixed, the way her own father could ring a bloke down the road in 1970 and have it done before lunch. But that Australia is slipping away. Across the country tonight, the same scene is playing out in 100,000 kitchens. Weeks of waiting for a bricklayer, months for a carpenter, a premium paid for the privilege of being put on a list. The nation that once built itself, brick by brick and weld by weld, is quietly running short of the people who build. And almost nobody stops to ask the obvious question: where did all the tradesmen go? Here is what makes it so strange. Australia has just promised itself the biggest house building program in a generation. The Federal Housing Accord set a target of 1.2 million new homes over 5 years. But the country is already failing it. In the first 15 months, only around 219,000 homes were finished, when the pace needed is closer to 280,000 a year. That is tens of thousands of homes behind, and not one state or territory is on track. Every serious forecaster now agrees the target will be missed, slipping past the deadline by at least a year. And the reason is not a shortage of land or money or plans. It is a shortage of hands. You cannot frame a house with a spreadsheet. You cannot lay bricks with good intentions. The country set itself a national task and then discovered it no longer had enough of the one thing the task depends on: the skilled tradesman. This was not bad luck. It was built, decision by decision, over 40 years. To see what was lost, go back to the Australia of 1965. The sound of tools rang out from every building site, every workshop, every suburban street. A boy could leave school at 16 with no shame in it at all and sign a formal apprenticeship, a real agreement that mapped out 4 years of his life. 2 days a week, he sat in a technical college classroom, learning the mathematics and the drawing behind the trade. The other days he spent on the job, beside a tradesman who knew every joist and every footing in town. The apprenticeship was a rite of passage. Local businesses sponsored new apprentices, and their names were printed in the local paper, right alongside the football scores and the council news. On weekends, those same tradesmen volunteered their skills to build the school hall or mend the church roof. The local builder or carpenter was not just a service, he was a neighbour, a mentor, a familiar face at the Saturday market, and the work paid. By the time a young man qualified, a skilled tradesman could earn a wage that bought a home, raised a family, and one day retired with dignity. This was a world where a trade was not a fallback for the boys who could not manage the books. It was a foundation. The work was hard and nobody pretended otherwise, but the respect was real and the path was clear. Learn, work, contribute, belong. For a whole generation of Australians, that was the promise, and the country kept it. Then, in the late 1980s, the ground beneath that promise began to move. In 1988, the Education Minister John Dawkins unveiled a plan that would quietly reshape what an entire nation believed success looked like. His reforms folded the old colleges of advanced education and institutes of technology into a new and much larger university system. In the space of just a few years, the number of universities in the country nearly doubled. University was thrown open to tens of thousands of young people who, a generation earlier, might have followed their fathers onto the tools. And the message that came with it could not have been clearer. University was now the gold standard, the respectable path, the mark of a family that had moved up in the world. School career advisors repeated it, government campaigns repeated it, and around the kitchen table, parents who wanted the best for their children began to repeat it too. One Australian, recalling those years, put it simply. His mum and dad always told him, "Do not end up on the tools, get yourself a degree." There was nothing cruel in it. It was love, and it was pride, but it carried a cost that nobody could see at the time. As more and more school leavers filled the lecture halls, the trade was quietly recast as the path for the kids who could not manage anything better. The old certainty that a trade was a secure and honourable life began to fade. If the first blow was cultural, the second was financial, and it landed on the one institution that had held the whole system together. For most of the 20th century, the technical and further education system known as TAFE was the backbone of trade training in this country. It turned out generation after generation of skilled workers. But from the middle of the 1990s, that backbone was deliberately weakened. Successive governments, state and federal, pushed TAFE into what was called a contestable funding model. That is a polite way of saying the training money was handed to the lowest bidder. Public dollars flowed to private colleges, many of which had little interest in running the expensive, hands-on workshops that a real trade demands. Across the country, campuses shut down, especially in regional towns and the outer suburbs, the very places that needed them most. Then, in 2009, a scheme called Vet Fee Help opened the doors to a wave of private providers promising quick qualifications. Many delivered little more than paperwork. Billions of public dollars were poured in, and much of it was wasted on students who never finished, and sometimes never even started. It became one of the great public money disasters of the decade, and when the dust settled, the country still could not find a bricklayer. And this is the part that the people who made these decisions never seem to understand. A trade is not a thing you can switch on and off like a tap. Skill is not born into a man. It is passed from one pair of hands to the next, on the job, year after year, by a tradesman who learned it the same way 30 years before. There is knowledge in a trade that is never written down in any book, the feel of a wall that is true, the sound of a footing that will hold, the thousand small judgments that only time on the tools can teach. Break the chain at any single link, the college, the apprenticeship, the steady employer, the fair wage, and the whole thing falters. And right now, the strain is showing exactly where the country can least afford it. The construction trades, the bricklayers, the carpenters, the roofers, and the tilers are the scarcest of all. The latest industry figures show their availability getting worse, not better, even as the demand for homes climbs. And while plenty of young people still finish their training once they begin, the number starting an apprenticeship in the construction trades has actually fallen, at the very moment the country needs them most. So the country reaches for the quickest patch it can find. Rather than rebuild the training that took 40 years to dismantle, it imports the skills instead. The number of construction workers brought in from overseas on temporary skilled visas has doubled in just a few years. It is a sign of how deep the hole runs, that a country which once trained its own on every street corner now flies in the people who can read a plan and lay a course of bricks. There is no shame in the workers who come. The shame is in a nation that gave up making its own and then acted surprised when the well ran dry, and the pain is not spread evenly. The shortage bites hardest in the very places that built this country and can least afford to lose it. In the latest figures, the availability of trades is worst in Adelaide, in Perth, and across regional Western Australia, the mining and building heartlands, where a skilled pair of hands was once the surest job a young man could find. In a country town today, a school leaver who wants nothing more than to learn a trade may find the nearest campus closed, the nearest apprenticeship an hour's drive away, and the nearest master tradesman already booked out for a year. The pathway that was once on his doorstep has been quietly moved out of reach, and with it, the reason for a young family to stay in the town at all. So the bill comes due, and it lands on the kitchen table of every ordinary Australian. It lands on Margaret in Adelaide, waiting weeks for a tradesman she can barely afford. It lands on the young family whose renovation has stalled because there is no one to do the work. It lands on the first home buyer waiting for a house in an estate where the frames stand empty because the trades to finish them do not exist. The cost of a simple repair has climbed out of all reason, not because tradesmen are greedy, but because there are far too few of them chasing far too much work. And the 1.2 million homes the country has promised itself sit in large part as numbers on a page because the hands that would build them were never trained. The country dismantled the system that made these men. It told a generation the work was beneath them. And now it stands genuinely surprised that there is almost no one left. Think back to that retiring tradesman in 1965, handing his battered toolbox to a 16-year-old apprentice. That simple gesture carried the weight of a lifetime and a promise. The promise that the skill would go on, that someone would always be there to build and to mend, that the country would always be able to look after its own. That promise has been quietly broken. The toolbox is still there in 1,000 sheds across the country, but there is no young apprentice waiting to take it because the pathway that once led him to the door has been pulled up, plank by plank. If you served your time on the tools, if you did your apprenticeship at a technical college on a cold weeknight, or handed your own knowledge to a young bloke who is grey himself now, subscribe and stay with the channel. Because these are the stories that are vanishing along with the men who lived them. What was lost here was never just a job. It was a pathway and a kind of dignity and a quiet confidence that a country could build and mend whatever it needed. That pathway was not charity. It was an investment a serious nation made in itself because it believed it would always need its own skilled hands. When Australia stopped making tradesmen, it was not really saying the work no longer mattered. It was saying it no longer believed it needed to build at all. The men on the tools knew better. They always did. And now the country is learning, one unbuilt home at a time, exactly what it gave away. Subscribe to Old Australia.